Hey y'all, this is Gabby with Lopez Creations coming in with a part 2 on how I put my shakers together. I'm going to be showing two different shakers. One is a phone grip and one is a keychain. First, you're going to get your backer, your border piece, your spacer piece, and your flex piece. I am going to be showing how to do both at the same time, so I might just whip through a bunch of this as they are repeated steps. So the first step that I do is I go ahead and coat the UV resin on the back with a UV LED light. I do wear gloves during this process for safety reasons. I'm also in a well ventilated area, so make sure you know your safety with UV resin. I go ahead and coat the back of both of these. The keychain may not need it, but I do it just as a precaution so it doesn't get scratched up. But I mostly do it for the phone grip because I would then see the glue coming through the front. So it's just a protective layer to keep that from happening and keeping the photo as a nice piece. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom through this. I just go ahead and use UV resin. I just make sure it gets to the edges. If you go over the edges, it's not a big deal. I do this a lot, unfortunately. So I end up just having to cut it off of the front of the acrylic and it doesn't have any issues. As long as you're careful, you're not going to scratch up your acrylic. So here you'll see that once it's done, I just check it, make sure it's not tacky or sticky, and then I notice that it's on the front of the acrylic. So before I went ahead and sliced that off, I go ahead and cure it for another 30 seconds. That way it's just, I make sure that it's hardened before I use my X-Acto knife and just slice it off. It's pretty easy. It keeps the acrylic shiny. There's no issues with it. All right, now that both of these are done, one is a glitter clear subacrylic and one is a clear subacrylic, both from C&B Custom Made Better Acrylics. I will go ahead and add my spacer piece. I use a 1/4 inch acrylic. If I was going to be using smaller pieces of charms, like let's say I was going to use 1/16 acrylic for my charms, I could probably go down to 1/8 inch clear as a spacer, but because my charms are 1/8, I go ahead and use a 1/4 inch acrylic for my spacer piece. Usually I'll just remove the side that is going to be glued on first, just so I don't leave any fingerprints in case of my glue. Some people also use 3M. I don't find that it works for me because sometimes the stickiness goes inside and sticks to my charms. So I use this specific Micro Mark Same Stuff Professional Plastic Welder. It does take longer as far as like having to apply it and all that, but honestly it's super quick. It dries really fast, keeps everything together. I haven't had an issue with it. It's very similar to Weld On, it's just a little bit less messy because of the brush. It also lasts longer because it doesn't evaporate. But here I am just applying it on the inside. It dries really quickly so I don't have issues with my charms. Alright, and the next step is to get your charms. I have another video on how I make my charms or how I sublimate my charms. I'm going to remove the front piece that leaves like a mat on it. It's just to make it shiny again. Don't forget to remove that. I have a glitter version and then a regular version. They're just super cute. And here they are, very cute. You could also add glitter or like loose glitter or other charms like sprinkles and things. I just wanted to show off them with just the charms. Next I'm going to add the flex acrylic. This I also get from C&B Acrylics. I take off one side and leave the other side on so that the glue doesn't get to the front. I had this issue the first time making my charms where the glue got on my fingers and then left like a little bit of a residue on the front. I am still using that Micro Mark Same Stuff on this. It works because it's an acrylic. I will go ahead and double check that it's stuck all around because sometimes you'll miss a piece, but I just go ahead and lift the edges just to make sure that it's stuck on there. If I find a place like that, I will just go ahead and put some more Same Stuff on there. Once it's all done, I go ahead and remove the clear piece from the front of my pieces. And then very carefully, I'll add on my border piece, again with that same stuff, making sure that the front and back are removed. In this case, I'd already removed it from the back, but not from the front, so you'll see that here in a minute. I do want to add that I am very careful with lining up my pieces, especially for my keychain. You don't want your pieces to go over the keychain hole. Once that's done, I just use my X-Acto knife and I take off that front piece. I'll go ahead and add my keychain to this keychain version. Super cute. Set that aside. And now we're going to add the adhesive for the phone grip. I use UV resin, but you can use your favorite adhesive that you have on hand to do this. So I'll go ahead and put a thin layer where I'm going to have the phone grip, and I use my UV LED light to secure it. Afterwards, I will add more if I feel like it's going to pull apart, but usually that first layer is pretty good for it. All right, once that's done, I go ahead and check that there was no UV resin on the front, which if there was, you could just use your X-Acto and peel it off. I check that this isn't gonna pull apart, have no issues with that, and there you are. There's your phone grip, there's your keychain. Super simple and easy. I do have another video on how I make and design my shakers, so feel free to check that one out as well. I do have this and other shaker files on my Etsy, glopezcreations.com. Feel free to check those out and let me know what other videos you'd like to see. Thanks for watching.